After the encounter at the bridge, Velantis and his companions were able to slip past a few more Shadow Deep patrols and reach Tor Varden. There were no guards posted outside, and very little indication of anyone inside. Then, a muffled scream came from somewhere in the tower. It was a sign of both good and ill. There is at least one man alive in Tor Varden, but Velantis and his companions might already be too late to save him. They will need to move fast. So here we have our party. At the front there, we have the Ranger Velantis. He's level 2. Stat increases, he's got 7 movement, plus 3 fight, plus 3 shoot. For heroic abilities, he has dash, parry, steady aim and focus. And he also knows the smoke spell. Then we have Talika the Knight, the anchor of our party. And then Felko, the archer. And here we have Ashlyn, the conjurer. She knows the heal spell and the armor spell. And behind her we have Ray J, the swordsman. We're about to tackle Tor Varden, the lower levels. First we're going to do some pre-game rolls to see if we've got disadvantage in the first room. So because we didn't find the keys or the scroll, we have to make both rolls. The first one's a stealth roll. We're going to have Velantis do that one because he's got a plus 3 to his stealth. Now we're looking for a 10. And that fails. Now I've got to roll a picklock check, 10 again. And that succeeds. But because we did fail one of those tests, unfortunately, we're going to have the penalty for the first room. So unlike most of the scenarios in Rangers of Shadow Deep, where you would normally flip an event card at the end of the turn, this doesn't have event cards. Instead, whenever we reach a new room, we have to flip a card and check the table and set up the room accordingly. Alright, so we've shuffled up this deck and here we are. We're just going to flip for the first room card. What do we get? It's the red ace, which is the storage room. So I'm going to go ahead and set that up and then we're going to get to turn 1. We've got the storage room here. A bunch of crates and barrels. We've got one treasure token in the corner there. And another treasure token in the corner there. Now, there's 4 enemies in the room that you can see. Now, we did apply the penalty, which meant that the 2 enemies in the back, this one and that one, being replaced with archers. Now for our deployment, we've got Velantis in the front there, Talika next to him, and then Ray J, and then at the very back, we've got Felko, and of course, Ashlyn, who will be placed at the beginning of turn 2 within one of the door. The objective is to get to that door. Now, if we do not succeed by the end of turn 4, we will apply the penalty for the next room. Ranger phase. So we are going to group activate with Velantis, Talika and Ray J. So movements first. Talika is going to move to contact with this enemy. Velantis move up once in contact with this enemy. Ray J is going to move up to help Talika. Now to second actions, starting with Velantis. Velantis versus Shadow Deep Knight. Velantis has fight plus 3, the Knight has fight plus 2. Wow, it's a critical to a fumble. Velantis will easily slay this Knight. It's a great start for the Rangers. Now over to this melee. I'm going to start with Ray J supported by Talika against the Knight. So fight plus 5 versus fight plus 2. And it's another critical. First 2 rolls, 2 criticals for the Rangers. What a start. And with a display of incredible finesse, Ray J slays this Knight. Now Talika can make her second action. She's just going to advance and engage this Shadow Deep Archer here. Creature phase. This Shadow Deep Archer right here will take a swing at Talika. And that's a wicked blow by Talika. It's going to inflict a hefty 8 points of damage, striking this Shadow Deep Archer onto death's doorstep, leaving it with 2 health remaining. And now over to this archer. It's just going to shoot at Velantis. So it's shoot plus 2 versus Velantis' fight plus 3. And the archer does strike Velantis, but his armor prevents him from taking any damage. Companion phase, starting with Falco. Now he's going to advance once to behind these barrels, and then take a shot at the Shadow Deep Archer in the corner. Now it's shoot +2 versus fight +2 because Falco moved. And that was a pretty poor effort by Falco. Doesn't even get close to hitting the archer. And that'll do it for turn 1, and a pretty successful one at that. Now let's see if we can keep the momentum going into turn 2. So the first thing that's going to happen, turn 2, is we get to place Ashlyn within one of the door. I'm just going to place her right there. Now we're going to go into Ranger phase, turn 2. Velantis is going to have to activate by himself because Falco's just out of 3 inches there. First thing we're going to do is move Velantis up to melee range, while also getting to base with that treasure token. Velantis is going to attack this Shadow Deep Archer. Velantis wins, but not by enough to really do much damage. Monster phase. We start with this archer here. He's going to take another swing at Talika. Fight +4 versus fight +1. Ooh, and that's tied, which means both parties take damage. And that is going to be enough to finish that archer off. But as he dies, he does inflict 2 points of damage on Talika. Now this archer here retaliates against Velantis. Fight +1 versus fight +3. This time Velantis wins, and by enough to do some damage, knocking that archer down to 6 hit points left. Now, companion phase, starting with Talika. She turns with that archer in her sights, and moves in to engage. Now she's going to take a swing at +5 because of Velantis' support against the archer's +1. And she just manages to win that, grazing the archer for 1 point of damage. Now it's Ray J's turn. He's got his eyes on that sweet loot. Moves up into contact with it, and in his second action, he's going to grab the loot. So we've got 1 loot in the bag. Now to Ashlyn. She's going to move once up behind these crates, and then cast armor on Talika, which is going to increase her armor to 15 till the end of the battle. And finally to Falco. Now he's just going to move twice to get in combat with that archer, surrounding it and pinning it back in the corner. So that turn wasn't as dramatic as the first one, but still doing pretty good. We secured ourselves 1 treasure token and managed to surround the last enemy. If we can finish him off quickly, we can secure that other treasure and avoid getting the penalty for the next room. Now let's head to turn 3. Ranger phase. Velantis will activate, along with Talika and Falco. Now the second action's with Talika first. Now she's going to attack this cornered Shadow Deep Archer. She's got 2 supports there for a total of +6. Talika wins with a total of 16, which will inflict enough damage to slay the archer. And that's cleared the room, so he will not be applying the penalty for the next one. And just get him out of there. Come on. Now Velantis, he'll use his second action to grab that treasure. Now we got 2 in the bag. And then to Falco, he's just going to reposition to here. Companion phase. Ashlyn's up first. She's going to move twice and reposition to the right side of the door, just here. And then to Ray J. And we're going to move him twice as well, up to here. And that's the end of the turn, with our whole party gathered and ready to tackle the next room. Ranger phase. Velantis will activate first. His first action is going to be to move to here. And then he's going to spend his second action to open that door. Flipping a card for the next room, second room. This one will be 2. And that is the torture room. So go ahead and set up the torture room. Let's just have a quick look. Now, these 2 figures here at the back, they're both badly wounded prisoners who are shackled up. They're too wounded to really affect the battle at all. But if we do succeed the scenario as a whole, we will get some extra experience points for having saved them. Now we have 1 Shadow Deep fighter here in the corner, and another one just here. And in the middle, this huge figure is a Shadowdeep sergeant. And he's currently in the process of interrogating this Tor Varden soldier. Now he's a man-at-arms, but he doesn't have a shield. He's badly wounded on 7 health, and he's also unarmed. Now an unarmed figure is going to have -2 fight and -2 damage. I do think that it's going to be pretty unlikely that he'll survive getting attacked by that sergeant there, but you never know. Maybe he'll get lucky and take the sergeant down for us. If our rolls are anything like they were in the first room, it won't be hard for him at all. We are going to give him a name, because I always like to name any NPCs. I'm going to call him Ichabod. Good luck, Ichabod, you will need it. So just like in the previous room, we do have 4 turns to get to this door over here. Otherwise, we will get a penalty for the next room. Now, I am going to have Velantis open the door from this side, just so he's not blocking the door, so we can filter our party through there. Monster phase. Now the sergeant's up first, and he's going to swing that huge halberd into Ichabod. Now let's cross our fingers and hope that he doesn't get pasted. So, the Shadowdeep sergeant here has 5+4 against Ichabod, who is unarmed, at 5+1. So that huge halberd does connect, but it only clips Ichabod. He's going to take 1 point of damage plus another 2 because it's a double-handed weapon. Now this fighter in the corner is going to activate. He's going to walk up and engage Ichabod as well. And then he's going to have a swing. Ooh, and that fighter's totally missed. And Ichabod's actually hit, but it's only a scratch for 1 point of damage. Now, unexpectedly, Ichabod's still alive, which means this fighter here is also going to engage Ichabod. Oh no, Ichabod's unarmed and surrounded, but he's still alive. Now this fighter will make an attack and try and put Ichabod out of his misery. Wow, 17! Ichabod's on fire! That's a total of 18, which is going to deal 7 points of damage to that Shadowdeep fighter. Okay, so Ichabod, winning that combat, will decide to push this fighter back to here. Companion phase. Falco's up first. He's going to move once to here, up against the wall. And then try and stick an arrow in that wounded Shadowdeep fighter. Shoot +2 versus fight +2. Ooh, that's another 17. He's put the arrow right through the eye slit. And he's going to take 8 points of damage, which is more than enough to put him down. So now we're going to activate Talika. She's going to move twice, once to here, and then a second time, just around to here. Ready to help out Ichabod next turn. Now we're going to activate Ray J. He's going to do a similar thing. First action, going to move to here. In his next action, he's going to move to here, next to Talika. Finally, we have Ashland. Now, I think Ichabod's proved himself to be a pretty decent fighter, so it's definitely worth saving him. So we're going to have Ashland move up once, and then cast Heal on Ichabod, which is going to take him up to 12 life. And that's going to do it for the turn. Now that turn was interesting. Very surprised that Ichabod's still alive. It's really allowed us to advance our position into the room and holds us in pretty good stead to prevent the penalty for the next room. Ranger phase. So Velantis has to activate by himself because there's nobody else around, and I think he's just going to move in and help out Ichabod. He won't be able to make an attack, but that's fine. We'll just move up twice and engage this fighter here. Monster phase. Starting with the sergeant because he's got the most health. He's going to try and end Ichabod. Ooh, that's not good for Ichabod. So the sergeant wins with a 19, and Ichabod's going to take 10 points of damage because of the double-handed weapon and go back down to 2 life. So he's hanging on by a thread. Now this fighter here turned his attention to the grievously wounded Ichabod, looking to finish him off quickly. And unfortunately, that is going to be enough to do it. Ichabod, after fighting very valiantly, does eventually get killed. Now, as much as I did love having Ichabod around, it's kind of worked out perfectly, at least for Falco. It means he's got a clear shot at the sergeant here. But Sergeant easily puts his shield up and the arrow deflects wide. Now it's on to Talika. She's just going to skirt around and then engage Sergeant from the side. He's going to turn to face Talika. Now we are, with our second action, going to have an attack. Now the dice have been going well for us, so I'm feeling pretty confident. And especially with Talika under protection of the armor spell, what's the worst that could happen? So Talika 5+4, Sergeant 5+3. Ooh, and the Sergeant's 1. So that's a total of 21. Talika has 15 armor. So she's going to take 6 points of damage plus another 2 for the double-handed weapon. And that was a hefty blow, and that's what can happen. The battle can turn really quickly. Talika's been smashed down to 4 health left. Alright, now we're going to activate Ray J, and he's going to go in and assist Talika and try and take that Sergeant down together. He's going to move into here, and then, with Talika's help, he's going to attack the Sergeant. Ooh, and that's really close. Luckily, we've got support from Talika there. Sergeant gets 21. Ray J, with Talika's help, gets 22. So what a hit by Ray J. That actually did 11 points of damage to the Sergeant, leaving him on 1 wound. Now the last model to activate in the companion phase is Ashlyn. Okay, so I am feeling lucky. Ashlyn's going to move up bravely to engage the Sergeant. And then she's going to make an attack against him. Now she will have +2 because the 2 supports against his +3. The luck's been with me so far, and I'm hoping it's going to continue. Now Sergeant's on 1 health, so we really only need to scratch him. Let's see how we do. And I think she's done it. So Sergeant gets 11, and Ashlyn gets 12. And you know what? His armor's 11. It's perfectly enough to take the Sergeant down to the hit point. What an attack by Ashlyn. And with that, we've basically cleaned the room out. So now it's our whole party versus 1 lone fighter. Unfortunately, Ichabod's no longer with us, but he did serve as a pretty solid distraction. Now let's head to the next turn, which is going to be turn 3. We're starting, of course, with the Ranger phase. This time, we are going to activate Velantis, Ray J, and Talika. And we're going to try and finish off this last fighter and get on to the next room. Okay, so in the group activation, you need to move first. Velantis is going to stay where he is. Talika's going to come around to here. Followed by Ray J, who's going to come around to here. Surrounding this poor fighter. So second action's down. The first one's going to be with Velantis against this fighter. He has 2 supports, so it's 5+5 versus 5+2. And Velantis wins with a total of 17, which is going to deal 6 points of damage to the fighter, seriously injuring him, leaving him on 4 health left. Now second action for Ray J. He's going to throw an attack into this fighter also. He's got +6 because of the 2 supports against +2. And that is going to be enough to slay that fighter. So he's going to go down, which has cleared the room. Now I was actually meant to place a clue marker where the Sergeant died, but I forgot to do it. So instead we're going to place a clue marker right now after that fighter died. So it means there's going to be a clue right in the middle of everybody there. Now companion phase, turn 3. Starting with Ashlyn. Now, we're going to skirt around to here. And then, once we're on that side, come in contact with that clue marker, which is going to trigger it, and we're going to roll on the table to see what we get. So I am going to remove the clue token now. And let's roll on the table. 15. And 15 is beaten dog. You discover the Watchtower's dog licking its wounds in the corner. The next time you take a hound companion of any type, it is a permanent +1 will. Well, that's fantastic. So I imagine that the dog we discovered was probably Ichabod's, and now that his master's died, he decided to latch onto Velantis instead. Now that just leaves us with Velko to activate. His turn is going to be pretty simple. He's going to move once, just to the corner here, so as not to block anybody else off. And then his next action, he's going to use to open that door. Now we're going to flip another room card to see what the next room beholds. And the next room is the Red 4, which is a shaman's workshop. So this room's been transformed into a workshop for the shaman. So in this room we do have 2 fighters right there, and behind them an orcish shaman. And at the back there, strapped against the wall, some kind of construct. At the end of turn 3, the shaman's still alive, the construct will animate, and we'll have to fight it as well. If we do manage to defeat all the Shadow Deep forces in this room, we will have successfully completed the scenario, and take the stairs there in the corner up to the roof. Ranger phase. Velantis will activate alone this time. Now I've got to get Velantis into that room, try and take down that orcish shaman. So his first move is going to be to here, and then he's going to aim up that shaman and take a shot. Now we really want to put this guy down as soon as possible, so we're going to use our steady aim skill to get +5 to this roll. So Velantis will have shoot +8, versus the shaman's fight +1. And that's another critical for the Rangers, added to the tally. And Velantis has put one right through his heart, and the shaman goes down like a sack of potatoes. Which means that construct will not be getting animated. That's one less thing we have to think about. Velantis doing some serious work. Bye bye shaman, I'll see you in the next life. Monster phase. So probably a little bit demoralized now. The 2 fighters here will activate. We're going to start with this one at the front. He will move twice. Engage to here. And then the second one, he's going to move once to here. And then to here. Engage Velantis. Get a bit of revenge for their orcish shaman. Companion phase. So we are going to activate Falco first. Fortunately, it's a bit of a bottleneck here. It's really clogged up this doorway. So we're going to move him through and then around to get behind this fighter here. And then we will throw an attack into him here. Okay, so Falco versus the Shadow Deep fighter. And Falco wins, but not by enough to do any damage. Now it's over to Ashlyn, and she's out of range to really do anything apart from move. So she's going to use the first one to get to the doorway, and then a second one to help out that melee and engage this fighter here. Now it's going to be Ray J. And like Ashlyn, he's just going to spend both of his actions to move. The first one to the doorway, and the second one around to here. Engage that fighter also. And finally to Talika. She's going to do much like the other 2. Firstly, she's going to move once to the doorway, and then again to engage that fighter. So there's just a huge melee in this doorway, which is all going to get sorted out in the next turn. Ranger phase. So in the Ranger phase, we are going to activate Velantis along with Talika and Ray J. First actions are wasted on movement. Second actions, starting with Ray J, he's going to attack that fighter there. So Ray J has 1 support from Talika, so he's at fight +5. Against the fighters, fight +2. So the Shadow Deep fighter actually wins, but not by enough to do any damage. So because Talika's already wounded, I don't really want to risk her next. So second action's now for Velantis. He's also going to attack this Shadow Deep fighter. Now he does have 2 assists from Talika and Ray J there, so it's going to be fight +5 versus the fighter's fight +2. And he's rolled another 20. This game's been full of criticals, and all of them for the Rangers. It's amazing. With a display of exquisite swordplay, Velantis defeats this Shadow Deep fighter, leaving just 1 left. And now for Talika's second action. She's just going to move in and engage that fighter to give Falco and Ashlyn another +1. Monster phase. So without any good options, the last Shadow Deep fighter will attack Talika, as she's the most wounded. Now this was the risk I took moving her in there, but I think it was worth it for the extra +1 support. Shadow Deep fighter versus Talika. Now Talika has support from Velantis, Falco and Ashlyn, so she's getting a +3 for a monstrous +7. And she just rolled another 20. All you need to do in this game is to roll 20s. Easy game. And the Rangers have just been brutalising the Shadowdeep forces in this fight. So Talika twirls her spear and then plunges it deep into the last Shadowdeep fighter's chest. Then he collapses to the ground, leaking blood and letting out a gurgling cry of anguish. And that's defeated the last Shadowdeep fighter. Velantis and his companions are victorious once again. Then, leading the way, Velantis leads his companions up the stairs to the rooftop of Tor Varden, where something sinister awaits them. If you want to know what happens next, please tune into the next battle report. That one's going to be Tor Varden, the upper levels. So in that scenario, we did make 37 experience points, plus another 10 for saving the 2 prisoners. So we could leave one of our companions behind to guard the prisoners, which would give us another 10 experience points for a total of plus 20. And that companion would also get an extra progression point. However, they wouldn't be able to join us in the next battle, and I'm pretty sure we're going to need everybody for the next battle. So we're just going to take the 10 experience points for a total of 47. Let's roll for those treasure tokens and see exactly what we found. The one that Velantis had? 7. So that is herbs and potions. And now we'll roll for Grey Jays. 13. Weapons and armor. Alright, so now let's roll on the herbs and potions table. 9. So that is silver hair. So with the silver hair, we can burn it to give all Shadowdeep soldiers -1 fight while in base-to-base contact with whoever wields it. That's pretty nice. Now on the weapons and armor table. Come on, something good. 3. Bow of magic with 5 charges. That is very useful. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please give the video a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. The next scenario is going to be Tor Varden, the upper levels, and I'm really excited to play it. I hope you can join me for that one. Until then, take it easy, have fun, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.